Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and I want to bring on a good friend of mine, longtime mentor of mine, real estate broker. He's shaking his head, Neal Oates Jr. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Nah, man, thanks for having me. Thanks for exposing me to your audience and to your channel. I don't want anyone to hold it against me that I am a friend of yours. That's always, that touch and go stuff.
Oh no, I've known you for about 7 years. 7 amazing years. Life changing.
Who? Amazing for us.
You? Well, for both. Both parties. Yeah, Neil Oates, I met him through our church, Potential Church, and it's developed into a really amazing friendship, mentorship, as I mentioned. You've been an entrepreneur longer than I've been alive, and so you've taught me a lot of. You're smirking. I say that with that's a compliment because he's taught me a lot about productivity and communication and even sales and a lot of things that I do kind of by nature now, but that came from Neil. And so I want to just introduce you and, of course, give you the opportunity to share more about your journey and kind of who you are, and we can go from there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alex. So the first thing I want to do, something you alluded to earlier, is that I've been an entrepreneur longer than you've been alive, right? So that's kind of scary. But then when I hear this, I think it's important for us to acknowledge, just the fact that even as what you would call your mentor, I'm learning from you on a daily basis, right? And I think for everyone, especially those entrepreneurs, those individuals who truly want to be great, who want to be better, who want to improve not only their lives or their circumstances, but everything around them. I think it's important for us to always have our eyes and ears open for where can we learn, where can we get better, and not have any ego, right? Because I think I've known you since you were 18 years old.
Mhm.
Right. And so for me now to look back and see what it is that you were doing and where you are now, I'm a fan. Right. So I'm always humbled anytime you introduce me as a mentor of yours. But my journey started much like maybe yours and some of your viewers, in the fact that I knew I wanted to do something. I knew I wanted to make a difference, but I didn't know what that was. And, all I had was we hear a dollar and a dream. Well, I did not have the dollar. I just had the dream, right? I had something in my head and in my heart. And so I started following that and made a lot of mistakes in the process. But then I must admit, Alex, that I was what I'm going to say spoiled, meaning that I had a comfortable life, right? So my family, my environment, it was comfortable. So it's not like I came from the mud or from the dirt. And so making money has never really been a challenge for me. In fact, I would make money and I would get bored because I only saw the finances, the income as the end result, as the end all be all. So I would push hard, make money, stop, chill, relax. And then about 19 years ago, 18 or 19 years ago, I opened my eyes and I was like, man, is it going to have mattered that Neal Oates was here on this earth? And unfortunately, the answer was no. Right. And I was thinking, man, we've got to change this. And so that's when it went from in the moment thinking and enjoyment to legacy, right? What am I going to leave behind? And so that's where I've mixed my personal passions and enjoyment along with my faith. And then really started pursuing something that when I'm no longer here, it will have mattered that I was here. And I always say my goal in everything that I do is not to be remembered, is to be missed, right? So when I'm no longer on this earth, when I'm no longer in rooms or in conversations, I want people to say, man, I wish Neal was here. Do you remember how Neal made the room feel, how he brought us all up? And if I think about that every day, then I know I'm going to be better.
And it happens even today because I've been in rooms where you used to be in, or you just miss a meeting or something, and people are like, "Oh, we miss Neil," because you just have that it factor, you have that magic about you that you can't really put your finger on it, but you absolutely do have that impact on everybody that you meet.
And so that's intentional, right? So when people ask me what I do, oftentimes I'll say something funny like I'm a janitor. And they'll say, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I believe it's my job in life to go through and clean up people's messes and to make their experience better. right? So all of the other titles, they're cool, right? But then having that ego check, if I can make your life better, your experience, your business, maybe a relationship that you have better, simply by coming in and often doing a small tweak, then I feel like I've done my job. So the next time the yogurt hits the fan, even if it's just for self fulfilling reasons, you're going to say, man, I wish Neal was here to make this situation a little bit better.
Mhm. Gotcha. And so I know a lot of people that watch my channel, they want to learn about money as a whole, whether it's increasing income or just building more wealth. And so I know, of course, you and I are believers, and a lot of people with our faith, I think they have this misconception that it's okay just being okay. Like they're just fine. You want to write that? They're just fine surviving, right? They're paying their bills, they're just getting by. But I think financially, they look at, oh, I don't want to be greedy, right? They think of building wealth as, oh, that's what greedy rich people do. I'm okay just getting by and surviving. But at the same time, people want to be selfless, they want to be generous. But of course, to do that, you need resources. And so, what would you give in terms of a piece of advice to people that have faith, but also want to focus on building wealth and expanding?
So the first thing I would encourage everyone to do is to listen to the prophet Jay-Z, where he said that you can't help the poor if you're one of them. Right. And I believe like this is where, as a pastor, as a believer, as a pastor's son, the challenge is that we have this distorted view of religion and what it says and how we're supposed to live life. Well, here's what I know. I know that as a believer, I am God's son. And then this is what I tell everyone, I'm God's favorite, right? And I want everyone to believe and to live life like they are their God's favorite. Because as a good father, I'm a dad of a 15-year-old. Here's what I know. I want the absolute best for my son. No question asked. Right. And as a believer, I just believe everything that the word says. So when God's word says that we're supposed to be the head, not the tail, we're supposed to lend and not borrow, that our Father owns the cattle on 1,000 hills and the hill, that he stores up riches and treasures for the good, right? We're supposed to win. Right. And the unfortunate part is that there are promises that are made to you and I that we, because of our limited thinking or maybe some antiquated thoughts of our ancestors who love us, right? They love us, but they think that money is the root of evil. It says the love of, right? But that's the love of any good thing if abused can pervert us, right? So I think that you and I, that everyone that's watching that follows you, they have a responsibility. It's just like Marianne Williamson said in her poem, your playing small does not do anything for the world, right? I believe that we are robbing not only ourselves, but we're robbing those people that our finances could be good for. Maybe those people who are like you, who have started where you started when you were 18, who are now looking at you as a zenith. Right. And they say, man, if Alex did it, I could do it. Right. But so many times I think it's actually selfish of us to play small. I think it's selfish of us to think that okay is okay. Because if you really want to make a difference, and this is a reality 100%, the reality is you have to be in the rooms where decisions are made in order to affect those decisions. If you don't have the financial resources. And now you don't have to like this, but it's the truth. If you aren't considered a person of influence and finances are a way to be influential, then you have no say. I have a close friend of mine who says that if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu, right? And so for me, I'm thinking, how can I get a seat at the table? So ultimately, I think that it is a show of your faith and your belief and your love for your God and your people that we are everything that we're created to be. So really quickly, the last thing that I have on that piece, Alex, my greatest fear in life and death is for me to stand before God our Father and for him to say, well, this is the man that you were supposed to be, and me be looking face to face and me stare at a complete stranger, right? If he say, well, hey, you were supposed to be a millionaire, billionaire, you were supposed to inspire generations, you were supposed to leave a legacy financially, spiritually, emotionally, and you didn't do it because You thought you were honoring me. I hate to say it, but you have failed, right? There are so many examples in the Bible, in life today, where people who aren't necessarily believers, they follow the biblical teachings, right, of Ecclesiastes, of Proverbs, from Solomon, and they are reaping the benefits because there are laws that if we follow, the laws don't care if we're good or bad. These biblical laws, if we follow them, they're going to result in outstanding results. And part of that is financial gain. And then we have to use that for the good. So I think it's a cop out. In short, long, or should I say short answer long. I think that it's a cop out when we say, well, we don't have to do this. I believe God, our Father, is looking down and saying, I created you. I gave you these gifts and talents. If you're not going to use them, it's a slap in his face.
So I think most people, everybody plays small in some capacity because I think most people have imaginary ceilings that they give themselves. And it's almost like an imaginary rule book to where they're like, oh, people from where I come from, we can only make 10,000 a month. Like, I don't know anybody making more than that, so that's all I can make. And it's all imaginary. Because there's people where you and I came from different places that are probably making 1 million a month, if not more. And to some people, that's like 1 million a month. I mean, that's small. But I think, again, we all play small and think small in different aspects of our life, and it never is going to help us. And so, what can people do to stop thinking small? And they don't have to go from, oh, I'm going to make 10,000 a month with my business to make 1 million, but like, what's an actual action step that people can take to go from thinking small to start making progress and start thinking bigger?
So the first thing is to do exactly what I have done and you've done and we continue to do, and that's to put yourself in a right environment, right? So one, if you're on this channel, you're in the right place. You're listening to the right person with Alex and everyone that he brings on, because we have to feed our minds, because we know that actions are a result of thought, and thoughts are a result of habit and what we are feeding our minds. So that's going to be the first thing. Make sure that you're feeding yourself mentally, spiritually with something good. And so you talk about 10,000 a month and how we play small in some areas. For me, after I got in the right environment, is listen to wise counsel. So there are areas in my life where I just dream big. I know some great things are going to happen. But then, for instance, in the world of YouTube, you were like, Neal, you've got some great stuff. We could capitalize on this. Do what I say. Part of me was like, tried it, don't want to do it anymore. The other part was like, this kid, no, I'm sorry, I call you a kid, I'm sorry. This guy
I'm still a
knows.
kid.
Right, so look, so I'm always going to be an old guy to you, right? Like, dang, this dude, you're still a kid. But that's where, like, can you heed wise counsel, right? Once you get in that environment, there are going to be people who are smarter than you, who have done what you have done and what you want to do in areas that you haven't touched, right? But then ultimately, one action step that I believe that we all need to do, and this is on a daily basis, is to take a self-assessment, right? I'm not talking about anything formal, but just go back and look at exactly what you said, Alex, right? What do you think? Where do those thoughts come from? Whether it's going to be how much can you earn, or what type of partner can you get in life? What kind of car can you drive? Is it showy? Is it flashy? Why do you think like you do? Because many of us are operating and we're living the lives that our parents or grandparents or maybe our cousins or our jealous siblings that they programmed into us, and we don't know why we make the decisions. So for me, the first thing is to always say, well, where am I starting? Why do I think that I have to, one, work for someone? Why do I think that I have to have a college degree? Now, I'm not talking against employment or degrees, but why do we believe what we believe? And if we address those and then we start asking, are the beliefs that I have and the actions that I'm taking, are they going to propel me towards this future I have or not? And if they're not, then we can go back and we'll know what to adjust.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, in terms of, let's say, somebody that has a job that's kind of stuck in the rat race, stuck in the 9 to 5, they want to expand their horizon, but maybe they have a mortgage, right? They have kids, they have responsibilities tying them down that are very practical and very real, right? They can't just get rid of that. What's a piece of advice for them, and what can they do to start taking that next step to where maybe they don't have to start their own business right away, but maybe they can eventually, in 2 or 3 years, have a business that makes as much, if not more, than their existing job. And so, what should somebody do as kind of a next step to go out of the rat race and start working towards becoming free?
So the first thing I encourage everyone to do that's in this situation is to find someone who's doing what you want to do. That's the first thing. We believe that, well, I'm going to be a trailblazer. I'm going to do it my way. Well, the word says, going back to God's words, is that wars are lost for the lack of wise counsel. I keep talking about wisdom and going to someone who has already blazed a trail. So find someone who is doing what you want to do and then seek them out. Reach out to them. It might be on YouTube. Maybe it's someone, even if they're doing it just 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. They don't have to be the guru, but maybe they left their business or they left their company 6 months ago and they have enough money to carry themselves and to meet their needs. Have conversations. You know, Jim Rohn, Norman Vincent Peale, W. Clement Stone, they always talk about invest in your mentor. Take them out to coffee or brunch. Sit down, have a meeting, ask questions of them, and then do what they tell you to do and report back to them, right? Do what they tell you to do, report back to them, hey, I've done this. So that's one. The next one that I would do is I would really sit down and look and see what are the costs that you have. What are your baseline costs for a month or 2 months so you can know what your budget is? Because oftentimes we think we require a lot more than we really need to live on a monthly basis, right? Because we say, man, I've got to find a job that pays, or I have to create a gig that's going to make 40,000 a month in order for me to cover all my expenses. Well, the reality is, in your first month, maybe you only need to make a quarter of your income right now. Because if you saved a little bit better, you could be able to carry some things over. So one, find a mentor who's doing what you're doing, do what they tell you to do. And then I would say find out what your expenses are. So then you can start a plan because that's going to usually ease some of that angst that you have in your chest that says, man, I got to make 100,000 this month. And you're like, no, you need to make $3,000 this month just to get even. Next month, how can we make 3,500? The month after that, how can we make 4,000 or 6,000? And then we'll start rolling that way.
I agree when it comes to seeking mentorship. I mean, that's how I met you at a Starbucks, technically, and potential church. And I just listened to what you said. I didn't try to combat or I didn't let my kind of predispositions try to dispute what you were saying. I'm like, he's where I want to be. So let me listen to what he has to say and just do it. And like you're saying, start small. I was making like 500 a month, then 1,000 a month, then 2,000 a month.
Crazy, right?
Back to 500 a month. Yeah, I mean, you saw me with my first company and what I've been doing now. And so, but I just kept going, kept doing something without an ego. That is the killer. Where I know people that make their first $10,000 a month or even $20,000 a month, and they're like, I'm Elon Musk, I'm Bill Gates. Like they just get a huge head, a huge sense of ego. And I just read an article from Ken Fisher, who runs Fisher Investments. It's a firm that has, I think, $115 billion assets under management. And he said, I don't have any money. He said, in the grand scheme of financial investing and investment advice, $115 billion, he said, is nothing. It's not even 1/10 of 1% of market share. And he's like, that's why I want to keep growing. I want to get some market share because even if it's a $200 billion firm, it's still nothing in the grand scheme of things. And so again, people get an ego when they make a little bit of money and they do something, but that's why I don't buy new clothes. I'm not a materialistic person because it's still nothing in the grand scheme of things. You got to think bigger, and there's a bigger vision behind it for sure.
Absolutely, sir. Now, I would advise you to buy 1 or 2 new shirts, man. I'm just saying, like the zip up joint.
Every interview, I wear this.
We know, we see them, we know.
Exactly. No, but you're absolutely right in terms of mentorship, though. And I tell clients all the time, visualize yourself having a very, let's say, a tooth that needs to get pulled or something's happening, your gums are messed up, like you have a massive injury with your teeth. A lot of people think, well, let me just go on YouTube and let me just look up how to pull my own tooth. Or like, let me just try to figure out how to navigate this. Because you're like, oh, I don't want to pay a dentist. I'll figure it out. I'm smart enough. I can figure it out. Same thing with your business, though. A lot of people think I'm just going to YouTube it, right? I'm just going to
Yeah.
look for free advice, free, free, free. They want to put a band-aid on a gunshot wound, and they wonder why 10 years from when they first started, they're at the same exact place. And so again, like you're saying with mentors, sometimes if you don't get blessed like I did, meeting somebody who's willing to invest their time into you for free and just have that role for you, it is worth trying to find somebody and just pay them to get a head start, get a fast track on your results. And I think the key thing is opportunity cost. So many people discount that where they think,
Yeah.
I'm just going to try it for free on my own. And again, with their tooth, I'm just going to get some pliers, yank them out, use some alcohol. Like, let me just try to figure it out. And usually they have to go to the dentist and pay more, and they wasted time and they're in more pain. Same thing with your business. And so,
Yeah.
anybody that's watching, you have to find a mentor, whether it's free or paid.
So on that, I think that something that we forget about is like every week or weekend, we're looking at some of the highest paid athletes in the world. We marvel at how great they are. But every one of them have coaches. And I'm talking about if you're playing football, if you have a position coach, then you'll have someone who's going to do your strength and conditioning. You're going to have a mental coach. You might say psychiatrist, that's going to take care of your mental. You're going to have your head coach, the GM, and everyone that's playing at the highest level, they've had decades, if not a lifetime of coaching. We want to emulate them, but we say, well, I'm going to do it just off of pure talent, right? Off of skill, off this God-given thing. And once again, that's an insult to our creator. Right. So I just believe, even in addition to having mentors, for instance, I speak. I have a coach for speaking. I have a coach for my mental health. I have coach when it comes to physical well-being. I have a real estate coach. And so each one of those, really, they make me better in every avenue. And so I think that identifying what you want to accomplish and then deciding, do I really want to do this thing? Right. And the way we really tell is how much time and money are you investing into yourself? If you're investing into yourself, and that's one thing that I loved about you, I saw that you were willing to invest in yourself. That's why it was easy for me to invest as well. Right. So one of the things I read this morning in my quiet reflection time, it was that you're either all in or I'm not in at all. So when you approach someone, even if it's going to be paid coaching or a mentor, then you as the mentee, as the protege, or as the student, you have to be all in 100%, or likely the coach or your mentor, they're going to say, I'm not going to half-ass this thing, right? I'm not going to tiptoe in here, because we know that our time, you talk about opportunity cost, and the cost of each engagement is going to be so great. I think that we tend to think that we always have more time than we really do, and that there's always tomorrow. And the reality is, especially coming through this pandemic in the past few years, we realize that none of us are guaranteed tomorrow, even though we never have been.
Absolutely. And I think so many people, they dip their toe in the water that could transform their life. They just dip their toe and they're like, let
Yep.
me just get a sense of the temperature. And it's like if you just dove in, if you were all in, whether or not it succeeded or not, at least you know you gave it your best shot. You gave it your all.
So So on that, one thing that one of my coaches always tells me, he says, Neal, when you go all out, 100%, because even if you're going in the wrong direction, at least you'll find out faster,
Mhm.
right? And I think that we are so hesitant to find out that we've made mistakes that we tiptoe. I am the type person, right? In every one of my businesses and all of my entrepreneurial endeavors, I go all out 100%. And it just looks like I go from victory to victory to victory. When the reality is, I've just failed so fast that the competition, that those who are watching, they can't count my failures, because I might try 10 things in a week. 8 of them might have failed, but I won on Monday and then I won again on Thursday. And they're like, Neal, man, you're killing it. And I'm like, you didn't see Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Mhm.
right? But we're in a society now where we have people who are always planning, who's always thinking and waiting. They're double dutching to get in. And so that whole idea of action versus meditation, I'm just a person that's prone and lean to acting. And then I just say, I hope that I don't mess up too bad, because I also believe that most people are forgiving of our mistakes and the missteps that we make.
Absolutely. I think most successful entrepreneurs, they're action based, they're action oriented, they're not doing over due diligence, overthinking, analysis paralysis. I mean, there's so many people I work with that have had an amazing idea for a business. I mean, I have a client named Christy Fantastic Finances. She is, I think, late 40s, early 50s, something along those lines, somewhere around there. And she's had an idea of teaching people about velocity banking and personal finance for, she told me, about almost 2 decades. And she just started her channel 9 months ago because she started working with me. And I told her, look, let's cut through the analysis paralysis, like stop with the planning. We just need to start making videos. Making videos like you have a basement, let's put up a whiteboard, just start pumping out content and, like you're saying, taking action, doing, moving forward. Because she
And
got me
she's
thinking about
killing it.
she has a way bigger channel than I do, and like now with her, the student has become the teacher. Now I'm like, Christy, so how are you growing that channel so much? You're killing it. So
Yeah,
that it's
and
just not
so
it's just
on
it's
that,
this thing. Yeah.
on Alex, right? Something that you see that Christy, and so here's what I have done because of our connection. I had no interest in velocity banking, but I did have interest in seeing someone after we had conversation who had some reluctance to get into the game. And now she looks like she's been doing it for 2 decades, right? Because that little bit of success, all it took was someone to believe in her enough to strip away all the excuses. Like, okay, yeah, you say you've been wanting to do it. Screw the planning. Let's do it. But what I love is that she even contacted you and was like, hey, I'm nervous. I don't know if I can. I'm going to give it a shot. And you were that voice that said, hey, I believe you can. And well, what have you been doing? Well, I've been planning, planning, planning. Okay, let's stop. Let's get a video done. Wait, but we're not done with the planning piece of it. And she trusted you enough, just like I have, to come and say, listen, I don't like the way this feels, but I trust you. I'm going to give my future to you. And that's a scary thing, right? As a human being, as an entrepreneur, we like to be in control. That's why we're doing our own thing. But here's what I will tell everyone, that if they go back and look at your track record and your success, they know they're in good hands. And I believe that a big part of that is simply because you're not doing it for you. Right. So there's something bigger. There's that legacy piece. And so I just want to encourage anyone who's still watching this channel right now, watching this video. If you have questions, if you want someone who's going to be in your corner, reach out to Alex. I mean, I'm supposed to be his mentor, and I'm reaching out to him saying, hey, I haven't reached my full potential. There's more that I want to give. How can I do it? And he's giving me steps. So I want to encourage everyone to reach out to Alex.
Wow, that's a great way to end it. You're like my ultimate hype man. Especially from the beginning of the episode, where you're like, I don't want to associate with this guy as a joke. And then now you're like, sign up with Alex. You should work with him.
Well, this is why. So I didn't say that I didn't want to be associated with you for my benefit. I don't want people to look me up and be like, Alex, you need to distance yourself from this
Uh,
guy, right? So I care about you too much, Alex. I care about you too much. I don't want people to be like, man, Alex, we were gonna sign up with you, but we see the company you keep, man. That guy,
yeah.
he's got a
You
track
lose a little
record.
credibility there by working with Neal Oates. You had to put that
Nah,
disclaimer. Yeah.
that's it. So really quickly, Alex, here's what I want to tell you, sir, because I know that while others might be watching, I feel like it's just you and I, as it always is, whether we're in a car driving somewhere on the golf course. Man, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you. I'm proud of you. I love you. I love what you're doing, right? The impact that you're having with so many people. I don't think you'll know on this side of heaven how many lives and generations that you're changing. But you have people like myself, people that you'll never meet, who are looking at you as the North Star, right? And so I want to give you your accolades, but I also want to issue a challenge to you, right? Because I believe you're just starting. Right. You know how I feel about you. You know that while I am proud to see what you've done, I believe that we're just that 1%, right? I believe there's a lot more, and I just want to encourage you and challenge you to keep going, man, and keep pouring into your viewers, keep pouring into your clients, into those prospects that are reaching out. And I believe that the sky really is the limit, and I can't wait to go along for the ride.
Beautiful. No, thank you so much. I love you too. I appreciate it. And also, before we go, where can people find you?
So they can, well, I tell everyone I'm easy to find if you're looking for the best, right? But the easiest way is going to be go to nealoates.com. Neal Oates, the proper way to spell Neal, NEALOATES.com. I'm on IG as Mr. World Renowned, which is fitting. And then they can find me on YouTube at Neal Oates.
Awesome. Sounds good, Neal. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Love you, dude.
Nice. Yeah, I think that was great.